everybody. Welcome back to Reclaiming America for another week of solutions to obvious crises that we have across the country and the world. I'm Bill.
I'm Dan. Obvious crises. That would be crises, I think, but okay.
We solve most of our crises. They just don't listen to us.
We're going to solve world peace, I guess, today, right?
Oh, we got an hour.
Yeah. You want to start there?
You want to start with world peace? That's fine.
Let's go with world peace, because we'd have a better chance with that than we were with world peace. So you might have heard there's a few wars going on.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to get into a few more.
It's getting scary out there, my friend.
Yeah, they're now shooting from Yemen.
Did they call you back up yet?
No. They called me and said, don't come.
I think the day's coming. They may be calling you up.
Yeah, but we are, what's interesting is that some friends of mine had some Thanksgiving leaves coming and they canceled everybody leaving.
Really?
Because they're expecting something to come down Marine side of the house. So, there's no orders out there, but they're like, you usually get a warning that says this could happen.
Yeah, you're not getting
and you start preparing
because,
for it right
yeah.
now. So they're making sure people are closer to home than normal because this is going to be an interesting problem.
I had heard somewhere that Biden was chirping about the Marines going in.
He's already got a Marine Expeditionary Force off the
right
coast
there,
off Yemen.
I just, it's like frogs in a pot. We've talked about that before, but every week we get closer and closer and closer.
And now they're shooting from Hezbollah. They're shooting from Iran is now threatening, we will do evil to you if you still stay involved in this and don't stop Israel. What bothers me more is the people on the other side of the fence who keep saying Israel needs to pause and stop what they're doing.
Oh, yeah, stop with that crap.
I mean, let's be honest about the thing. It wasn't Israel that was attacked, even though the left seems to think it was their fault that they got attacked, which is an interesting issue. And now they expect them to do restraint. When the Hamas has stated publicly this week, if given a chance, they will do it again and again and again. And they will keep coming back to the destroyed Israel and all the people living there. They want to go from desert to water, to the sea.
River to the sea.
Yep.
Which is what all the little college and high school
puppets.
Kids, well, I was trying to put it nicely, but yeah, we'll go with puppets. That's nice. I like the way you did that. Are chanting, and they actually, I don't think, have a clue what that means. I really don't think they do.
But there is this double standard where when you point out things that Hamas has done in Israel, their answer is there's no real proof about that. But when Hamas makes a statement what the Israelis did, like right now, they're now in the process of proving that what Hamas is doing is shooting people of Palestinians trying to get out of Israel, shooting them, and then blaming it the Israelis did it.
Right.
But as unproven as that is either way, the left will accept that because it's coming from Hamas, that the Israelis do it.
The thing is, Hamas has a website. I made the mistake of going on it.
You're probably being observed now by 5 or 6 different federal groups.
Yeah, I already am, so I'm used to that. But there are some videos on there that need to be shown to these people. I think that anyone who's protesting for Palestine should be forced to watch these videos.
I know what you're talking about. I know the one you're talking about.
There's one, yeah, and we can't go too far into it, but there was one where, let's just say it was horrific, and I'm going to leave it at that because if we start talking about it, we're going to get in trouble.
You want to go with that. So this is almost reminiscent of World War II.
It's funny you mention that. What I'm seeing is a mirror image of what happened in Germany in 1930, 31, and 32.
And what we're starting to view is the same thing that was happening with the final solution.
Exactly. But what they're doing is they're following that same blueprint where they're trying to make the Jewish people, not just in Israel, but across the world, out to be these evil, awful people. You got Ilhan Omar ranting and raving on Twitter, and I'm like, you have got to be kidding me.
And Tlaib's no better.
Tlaib's no better. AOC, I'll give her credit. She's kind of backed off. I think
she's a leaning left in that, but somewhere closer to center than the rest of them.
I think the realization for her set in that probably you lived in that area, 3/4 of her district happens to be Jewish,
and
probably.
that might be conservative. And that might be conservative.
I mean, to sit and watch what they're saying And I'm not even going to give the high school kids a pass. I know they're getting taught this by teachers and all that. I know the college kids, it's professors. It takes 5 seconds to put the web browser up and go find these videos. They're out there, and it's on Hamas's website. You're going to tell me that Israel is getting on Hamas's site and posting these? Come on, stop. And wouldn't Hamas be saying it was Israel if it was? No, they're proud of these
They're
videos.
bragging about it, but yet
They're
nobody wants to
literally
hear them
bragging
bragging about it.
And you sit there and you watch, the one video we're talking about, I'll be as nice as I can. They unalived the father. So we have to say it that way, Bill. I know you don't like it, but... and then they took the child and replicated the Holocaust. How about that? I think we can get away with saying that. And
I have several choices.
I know. We got to be careful with that.
Because, I know. And I'm not laughing because of that. I'm just laughing because we can't say it.
We have to say it that way.
The facts are facts, but we can't say it.
Yeah, we can't, And, these guys are standing around laughing about it. And I'm like, what kind of human beings would do that? I know people are awful. I get that.
Evil.
The evilest of the evil.
And the only way an evil person is dealt with is you've got to take them out. I hate to put it that way. The only way Israel's going to stop this from happening is they have to clean out Hamas. They cannot, and Hezbollah, evidently, because they're now getting involved from the north. And if you don't, you're just asking for this to happen again. Right now, Netanyahu's saying, remember never again. Well, never again is now.
My viewpoint on it is this. I feel sorry for the Palestinian people that did not want this, did not ask for it. But they voted Hamas in 15 odd years ago, give or take.
Yeah, well, they only gave them a 44% share, and the Palestinian group just caved into these guys because they were afraid of them.
All of the other Arab countries are disassociating themselves from Gaza. They know that. What is that to other than Yemen and Iran and parts of Syria and Jordan, which is Hezbollah.
And now Turkey's singing.
But when you have that kind of evil and just no respect at all for other human beings, you're right, Bill. I agree with you. I hope Israel goes river to sea. I really do. And I'm biased. I freely admit it. I've talked about it before. I grew up in a Jewish neighborhood. I have very good friends growing up. Both parents went through the Holocaust on a couple of different families. I heard the real stories, not just what's in the history books. And I'm seeing it repeated. Like you were mentioning, what we saw in Germany, it is happening again.
It's deja vu all over again. I hate to put it that way, but it is.
There is only one way to deal with it. And unfortunately, you've got Hamas. I know there was, I didn't hear the whole story, but I know there was a refugee camp that Israel bombed to kill a leader of Hamas. Unfortunately, some innocents got killed. That's war, friends. I'm sorry to say it. It's awful.
It's called collateral damage officially, and it's not something that you look to do. Something you look to do, but it happens. And if you have the other side purposely putting themselves where these innocents are, then there's probably at least as responsible for the death, if not more responsible.
I would say more, because if they let those people go, then they wouldn't have died. But
and I will give you a restraint. If you want to talk about Israeli restraint, they have been pinpoint bombing. They could just as easily did a carpet bombing.
Oh, they could.
And level that city. But they are selective, their shots, and I think we talked about it last week. They're trying to get the tunnels and shut down that tunnel network and get whatever leadership they can find and take out. But if they wanted to just go completely without restraint, they could have simply taken that down with one major carpet bombing and turned that into just a pile of rubble.
And even on the tunnels, I mean, a couple of properly placed ordnance, shall we say, would take the tunnels right out.
Yeah, we have the ordinance designed to take out tunnels.
Well, yeah.
And I'm sure we've shared it.
But unfortunately, I'm sure there are innocents in those tunnels, and Israel knows it.
Meanwhile, back in the States, we have the idiot in chief. Oh, excuse me, the president.
There we go. What did Pudding Brain say this time?
Well, he's done a couple of things this week. He's now come out and said that he will not tolerate any kind of anti-Semitism in the country. And what is the first thing he did? He took Vice President Kamala Harris.
Horace.
Horrible. Kamala Horrible. I mean Harris.
Hamaris the Horrible. Ooh, I like that. Get it what I said there? Hamaris the Horrible? Not Harris, Hamaris.
Or Homaris.
Whoa. But, okay, go on.
But anyway, he appointed her to a new job. She's in charge of a committee to come up with ways to deal with Islamophobia.
Oh, yeah, I saw his tweet on that. I might have responded to it.
Let's do this close. The Israelis are being attacked. Jewish settlements around the world, Jewish people are being attacked. Some colleges are locking them in for their own safety. They've actually done that. But we have to protect from Islamophobia. If this man had brains, he couldn't blow his nose. That's what he's short of. I got to tell you something. January 20th, 2025 cannot come quick enough.
If he loses, Bill. That's the problem right now. We'll have to get into it in the next segment, talking about Trump's
But again,
issues.
if you want to talk about the war over there, I mean, you've got Hezbollah coming in from the north, so Israel's already got at least two fronts.
Which is why I think part of the reason they held off going in.
Yeah, they wanted to.
I do think it's why they're showing some restraint, because half their army is still up north, and needs to be, by the way.
Yeah, the Hezbollah over there realizes that they have no chance if Israel decides to take that down either. You got Iran feeding everybody, and now you've got the rebels in Yemen firing the missiles also. And you've got Turkey saying that they may intervene on the side of the Arabs, or the Palestinians to be accurate. You got a mess there.
How does the NATO charter work if Turkey goes in against Israel and we defend Israel, then Article 5...
We have to attack ourselves.
I was going to say, do we send a carrier group to attack Norfolk, Virginia? I don't know what happens at that point, because...
the Eisenhower group takes on the Independence group.
We're joking around, but are we? I mean, it's become insane. And then you look at what's going on in Ukraine and Russia. We're trying to pass a bill to help Israel, but we got to help Ukraine too, because, Joey's got to get a part of his slush fund back.
President Slush for Brains has said that he will veto that bill for $14 billion to help Israel for two reasons. One, it doesn't have anything for the Ukrainians in it. And secondly, he has the nerve to try to cut money to pay for it from the IRS, who we know needs every dime they get so they can persecute more
of
Republicans.
Us, you and I.
Yes.
And I'm not even a Republican right now.
But so he's going to kill it. And Johnson, to his credit, said he would consider a bill for the Ukraine separately, but he's not going to tie it to this bill. So that's the speaker.
And
Johnson.
You know what? I'm going to give him credit where credit's due for doing that, because that's how business as usual would be. Sure, we'll tie them all together and we'll get our cut out of it, and that'll be that. He's not doing that. He's trying to separate it.
He's following. So far, he's following what he said. It's only been a week or so, but he's
following.
So far,
so good.
But so far, he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. But anyway, back to our war zone here. We're in big trouble, and you and I have talked about when does it become a shooting war for us, and it looks like it's getting closer and closer.
We've talked about mushroom clouds while we're filming. I mean, could it happen? Sure. Is it going to happen? Probably not like that. But and as we talked about this last week, we are one person hitting the wrong button somewhere by accident, not even deliberately.
By the way, I have a thought for you out of nowhere in this thing.
You have a thought?
NATO. What's in their charter? What is their purpose?
What was it, or what is it?
What is it, or was it? Same
difference. Well, it was originally to stop the Soviets.
Correct, and that's the purpose they came together. Is there a Soviet Union anymore?
Well, that's why I was saying was versus is.
But it's still in the charter.
You're making my point for me that I was going to make. So, yeah, why does NATO even exist at this point?
And that's a good point. And it doesn't serve a purpose.
I mean, if Russia can't beat Ukraine, why the hell are we worried about it?
They had trouble beating themselves with a little revolt.
I mean, Poland's pretty damn strong now. Germany's fairly strong. I think they're more than capable. Would you put them, well, you did your little list. Germany and Poland probably on par or stronger than Ukraine.
Oh, there's no argument.
Right. So if they can't get past 20 miles into Ukraine or whatever that they've taken and kept so far, why are we supporting all this? I don't get it. What is the benefit to us?
Normally you say it's in national interest.
In what way, though?
But the question is, I can't find the national interest.
I can't either.
It's not a matter. Technically, it is one of the food baskets of the world, so it might be in our national interest to protect everybody getting food.
How is that in our interest? We got our own food.
But the problem is, then our food will get strained to help others. I mean, you're stretching it as best I can do.
Oh, we just go get your own food.
Oh yeah, that'll work.
It would work if we chose to do it. I mean, it's harsh. I'm not trying to say it's not.
It never happened.
Well, you get the right person in there, Mike.
Yeah, it could. He'd at least stand up and say, "It's your issue, not mine."
Me.
Oh, you.
Now
you're running.
Make
Donald,
me president.
beware. We have a dark horse in the race.
Things would be run a little differently if I became president.
Yes, I know. Lori be in charge.
It would be America first.
Oh,
and
that
foremost.
sounds like something I've heard before.
Yeah,
America
but I'd
first.
actually.
What a novel idea.
But I wouldn't say it. I'd do it. First thing I would do is say, and to his credit, the person you're referring to did want to pull back from NATO quite a bit.
He did. Well, he made them want to pay their share to start, and he was the first one to make them do it.
I mean, do I think we need a presence in Europe? I honestly, at this point, even question that. But I'm going to say a base or two, maybe.
It's easier to have a foothold someplace when you've got to go to war someplace. That's a truth.
We got Ramstein in Germany, right?
Yeah.
And we got God knows how many bases in England.
And we have some in Italy too. That's
And we got
storage
some
bases.
in Italy. Okay. What do we need more than that for?
We really don't.
We don't. Again, I'm questioning where is the benefit to us as a nation to ship, what is it, 200 billion over to Ukraine already in that area?
Depending who you want to listen to.
Right. When we got veterans living on the street, homeless, that need
kicked out of their hotels
God knows
to make room
what,
for illegals.
right, for help. We've got roads falling apart everywhere. Our whole infrastructure and economy is teetering. Contrary to Bidenomics is great. We're going to get into that in a little bit too. I'm going to have a discussion on that.
Bidenomics doesn't exist.
Am I saying we shouldn't help the world in some ways? No, I think we should. But we are literally carrying everyone right now.
There's an old line that was actually in the Bible. You can feed someone or teach them to fish.
Yep. Well, they need to learn how to swim and then fish. Because we, meaning the American public, are carrying this load and we're breaking. I mean, you talk to people. I had a couple conversations with people this week, and they're worried about putting food on their table. We were talking about Thanksgiving. They're like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, literally, they don't know what they're going to do for Thanksgiving.
Well, we were looking at prices the other day about that. But, let's finish up the segment first before we go into something else. Anyway, if you think you agree with either one of us or you disagree with
we're going
both
to get some disagreeers, I know.
Get back to us and give us your opinion. We'll share it on the show. Aside from that, we will defend your right to be wrong. And
I will never back down from defending Israel. I'm just not going to.
I agree with you. But, they're probably the only ally we truly have that's 100% our ally. And maybe the Brits. But with that said, we're going to take a break now and pay a few bills, and we'll be back.
Okay. And we're back to Reclaiming America. It's been an interesting week. Where are we going, my friend? You pick.
Why don't we do Bidenomics, or the lack of any plan? I'm sorry.
No, they have a plan. The plan is to destroy the country.
And they're doing a hell of a job.
So, on the break, we were looking at X, not Twitter anymore. Twitter. And
how do you spell X, by the way?
I don't know, a few Democrats probably can't. But anyway, AOC for one. Remember, bra size more than IQ. I know, I tell you that one all the time. But anyway,
The producer
Karine
hasn't found anything yet.
Jean-Pierre.
That's a good sign.
What was that?
The producer hasn't thrown anything at you yet. That's a good sign.
Karine Jean-Pierre, as we're filming, just tweeted that Bidenomics is succeeding because unemployment's below 4% for the 21st month in a row. And they've created 14 million jobs. She's leaving out a bunch of stuff, first of all.
Like the number of jobs that were lost during the pandemic.
Yeah, 11 million.
It's a start.
Just, those coming back, those count as new ones for Biden. And unemployment being down, well, I'll grant that it's down. Well, one, they massaged, I'm trying to be kind here, the way they calculate the number, first of all. And second of all, there are many people working 2 and 3 jobs. Just because it's that you have a job doesn't mean it's full-time, 40-hour,
right,
making $40 an hour. If you are a, minimum wage worker sweeping floors somewhere and you have to get a second job to feed your family at, Walmart, that's 2 jobs, and they're counting that as unemployment.
And maybe weekends you go work at McDonald's or one of the fast food places to get some dollars to the family.
It is getting insane out there, and I talked about it in the first segment a little bit. I was talking with some people, and they're legitimately worried about how they're going to feed their family in the next month. Go ahead.
The president's found a solution.
Yeah, war.
That solves a lot of issues most of the time.
That's every single time.
We get into a downturn, and war turns it around.
World War II solved the Great Depression, basically.
Which is that military-industrial complex, which is an issue. But anyway, here's the thought for you. Do you know in California?
I don't want to know anything about California.
All the hotel workers in L.A. are on strike. There's 15,000.
Oh, they are? I didn't even know this.
There are 15,000 of them out on strike.
For what?
Better pay conditions, etc.
Okay.
So they've been out for a while. Now, there's a caravan coming north of about 10,000 people so far. They're coming, and they're going to keep coming. And by the way, the leadership of the caravan said, and it's an interesting statement, that we're going to keep sending people to the United States gives us the money we deserve. Interesting statement. And then just as a side note with that, President No Brains has announced this week one of his new plans to cut back on illegal immigration is he's going to give money to the southern countries so they can build infrastructure and create jobs.
Again, why are we funding the
one
world?
and one still equal 2. The man is great. But anyway, here's these 15,000 people coming north. Now, if they reroute them to Southern California,
I don't have a problem with that.
They can all get those jobs in L.A. and take the jobs of those people on strike.
Which is kind of what their plan actually is.
And it keeps them out of Texas.
Yeah, I'm good with Southern California.
By the way, our next segment, we got to do heroes and winners and losers, remember?
Oh, yeah.
But
side note.
And I got a couple notes on that, but the Biden economy is also dependent on the fact that a lot of people just ceased collecting unemployment. They gave up for a number of reasons, and many of them because they're making more money not working than working.
I mean, we're in deep doo-doo as a country financially because I've been, doing a few little research on some stuff. The housing bubble, it's not if, it's when it's going to crash. And when that happens, oh my God, they're saying it's going to make 2008 look like a blip. It was funny because I don't go on Facebook much anymore, but I was on Facebook last night. And locally where we are, somebody had put a post up going, how are we supposed to afford to live here anymore? And they were using like a 1-bedroom apartment, which nothing spectacular, not in the worst part of town, but certainly not in the best, is going for $1,800. And they're a server at a restaurant.
Yeah.
They said the only way I can continue to keep my apartment, because they just got raised to $1,800, is if I get a roommate now in a 1-bedroom apartment. And I'm hearing that not just here where we are, it's happening across the country. You're seeing houses go up for sale, getting bought up by corporations. They're not getting bought by other families. BlackRock and a few others are buying like crazy. It's all going to burst when that happens, and then add to it the auto side of it. Because the average car right now is probably about $50,000.
And it's going to get worse.
And it's going to get worse because the strike settled. And they got, what was the percentage you said?
30 to 40%,
If
depending
you
where.
think that's not
Over 2 years.
Yeah, you think that's not getting passed on to the consumer?
In a Philadelphia minute.
It's already been done, probably.
And in general, there's a general rule in business that you're hiring, you're paying your employees is probably 80% of your budget.
Yeah. What was interesting too is I went to Charlotte this past weekend, and we were going to the Panthers game to the stadium. You have to go down. I don't know what the route is, but I called it, car dealer row, one right after the other. They were packed with cars. I mean, packed. I drove by CarMax, which is, used cars, but fairly big. I don't think there was a space in their parking lot that didn't have a car in it, which means they're not selling cars. And you see repossessions are at an all-time high.
That I hadn't heard.
Yeah, repossessions are like far and away at an all-time high.
Well,
think about it. People were buying 2-3 years ago. They were getting their, what was it, $600 checks. They were going out and buying $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 cars, or leasing them
at a $500 or $600 or better month payment.
I think. Well, the average car payment now is $700. That's a mortgage payment.
Yep, used to be.
My mortgage payment is $500 and something. I sit there and go, my mortgage is less than your car payment. These people can't afford them now, so they're all getting repossessed, which is creating another backlog for used cars. This is going to be...
And the other backlog that is created, which has something to do with our people being employed, is the leasing industry.
That's another one, yes.
You take a car for 2 years, maybe 3 years, you turn it back in, you go to your next new car at the leasing agent, and now they've got another used car that's got to be sold to somebody.
And they can't get rid of them.
And they can't find anybody to buy them.
And the car companies are still churning them out. The strike... So it was interesting, as I'm doing this research and watching a few videos on YouTube and reading some things, the strike didn't affect the cars, the OEMs, the manufacturers, that much. Because they have so much inventory on their lots to send to the dealers.
Who aren't selling anything.
It didn't matter that they weren't making any. This all just starts cascading downhill.
But thanks to the settlement, they can now not make them at a higher rate.
Exactly. And EVs, did you see what happened with them?
No, I haven't. You got something I haven't caught yet.
So, GM's pulling out of it.
Yeah, I heard that.
Completely. Ford lost billions of dollars on theirs.
GM was in link with somebody. There was a smaller company they were doing
it with. I
don't
remember who it is, but they're pulling out completely. Ford is losing billions of dollars on EVs. Nobody's buying them. So for all this bluster about EVs are the next thing in the media and certain politicians, starting with Bubble Brain there.
No. Well, now wait a minute. There's a couple of bubbles here. For example, I go back to the one you gave before, AOC, who was called out the other day for she sings about electric cars, but she drives gas driven.
And didn't hear about that one.
Oh yeah, there was a whole interview on it, and when someone asked her about it, her explanation was, well, she needs a car to drive from the city to New York to Washington, and it was done during the pandemic, and the only car available was a gas-driven car, so she bought one.
Well, I know she at one point had a Tesla, but she was giving it up because Elon bought Twitter. But the whole EV market isn't there. There are literally millions of EV vehicles out there that aren't being bought because they're too expensive.
But naturally, government responding late and wrong, since we're not selling them anymore, then nobody's buying them, we're going out of our way to put in more stations to charge them.
Which, by the way, now that you brought that up, and I don't think you meant to do that, Tesla's charging stations don't work with the other ones.
Do they not?
Apparently not. I don't know for sure.
Well, I would say that was probably on purpose.
Yeah.
But you know what? I don't blame Tesla because he was the first one out there. They should have They should have designed him like his.
When Tesla puts their power stations in, they're for Teslas. I mean, Elon's paying for himself. But this is insanity. And they're already saying, it was interesting, one video I saw was with an economist. He's saying we are already worse off now than we were in the Great Depression.
Ooh.
They're hiding it. Because when you look at how they manipulate the figures, things like the GDP and all that, it's worse than it was in the Depression. And again, I'm not an economist. I don't claim to be one, but this guy seems fairly up and up on it.
But when you look at the Depression and what's going on, and you talk about the consumer index, remember that back then they counted fuel and food as part of the consumer index.
Yeah.
And they only took those things out because they're too volatile to pay attention to.
We're not going to count food anymore. Well, I don't know about you, but the last time I went to the grocery store, food was a little pricey.
I saw a thing on the other day on social media. There's this woman pushing out a cart full of food. And it was 1956, okay? And the label was, she bought all this for $20 on the way home to her $15,000 house.
Yeah, well, back then, yeah. I mean, inflation does play part of it, but as far as from 50s till now, but this guy was saying like the true inflation number is somewhere in the 20%. If you were to look at food,
and fuel, yeah, then absolutely.
When you go back to what it was, I believe he was saying pre-1980, if I remember right. If you use what they did in the 70s as your gauge, inflation is in the 20% range. Of course, nobody wants to talk about that because they want to claim inflation's at what, 3-something? You got the Fed. We're not going to raise interest rates this month, but we're going to raise them again next month. Interest rates on a car right now are about 10%. So do some simple math. If the average car is $50,000 and you got a 10% loan, it's $5,000 a year just in interest. That's $400 odd per month in just interest. How do families afford that?
They don't.
They don't. And that's why they're losing the cars. And, I don't know. I'm hoping that Mr. Johnson starts doing some stuff and ratcheting down the spending. So far, so good, right? We'll give him credit where credit's due so far.
It's early, but he's got good signs.
But I haven't heard much on the budget, have you?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's coming from the other way.
Do tell.
The Senate this week
Jesus.
passed 3 pillars of budget spending, separate pillars, and sent it to the House for consideration. So they're trying to get back to those separate bills again.
So, okay.
So it's just gone down there. So it's not. There's no reaction from the House yet. But they're going to try and play that good old game, and going to end up in conference again.
I believe. What's the deadline date? Is it the 17th or something like that?
Yeah, something.
Somewhere in that area.
We got about a week or so.
I was going to say you got a week and a half, give or take, as we're filming. I hope he shuts it down.
I'm all for it.
Shut it down. It's the only way at this point. When you are $34-ish trillion in debt and another $2 trillion coming, we can't afford it. At some point, we have to pull the plug. We have to.
And the longer we wait, the bigger the pain.
Exactly. As painful as it will be to do it now, and it will be painful. We're going to end up like Greece if we don't.
Well, I go back to my 1 cent rule that would solve the problem in 7 to 9 years, depending how you do it.
Oh, only increase 1 cent?
No. Decrease the budget annually, but get it to a balanced budget, and then decrease it annually by 1%. And within 7 or 8 years, Rand Paul did this and put it together.
Yeah.
You would have not only a balanced budget, you would still have a big dent in what you owed.
I got to do something, Bill. I am hoping your boy, Mr. Johnson, will step up to the plate because if he caves, we're screwed. There is no way we can keep affording the way things are. We just can't. And you got another year plus of Biden omics, and that's assuming he loses, which. But unfortunately, Bill, there's a lot of really stupid people out there.
Yeah, but speaking about, he does instantly do something. You heard about watching Mission Impossible?
Yeah.
For those of you who didn't catch that one,
oh God,
he watched the latest Mission Impossible, got very upset about the abilities of AI,
which I
or
use
artificial
which
intelligence,
I use all the time, by the way.
which is also a contraindicated with him. He's got neither. And
They should
he's
put a
now
chip in him.
putting executive orders together to take care of that issue. It's a good thing, as I said in a tweet, he didn't watch Dunes because we
Yeah,
would
that
be
was
having
funny.
we were going to be having executive orders to stop large worms showing up in your backyard.
Now, do I believe AI needs to have some regulation?
Absolutely.
I absolutely,
Absolutely
do.
agree.
He's not the one to determine that. Congress is. Congress passes the laws, not him.
And he's got to have intelligence to take on artificial intelligence, of which he hasn't got either. So,
I mean, I use AI for some things. It's fantastic. It's also extremely stupid in some cases.
well, the word I would use is not stupid, but naive.
Well, it was funny because I was pulling up something on. You might have heard this little novel called 1984.
I've heard about it once or twice.
It's been around
Since 1960 something.
6 decades, give or take.
Maybe even the late 50s.
So I was using ChatGPT, which is like the AI, and I put in a question related to 1984, and it said, I have no information on that book. And it must have come out after 2021. And I just went, oh dear God. It's because they don't want you using that book.
No, there's a good reason for it.
Exactly.
And
So,
anyway, I
on that
think
note,
we need to shut down, pay a few more bills, and we'll be back to talk to you about winners and losers and a bunch of other little things.
sounds good. Hey everybody, welcome back to Reclaiming America. Oh, I got you laughing now as we come back. Hey,
It's my turn to
my
laugh.
win for that.
Okay.
So we got to go and do our
Winners and losers
new segment, winners and losers. So give me a winner. Let's start with winners.
The 9 Republican governors who signed up with Texas to send National Guard troops down to help Texas defend the border from invasion. And
Good
they're-
one.
yeah,
I like that one.
You know, and they're all Republican governors, and they're from various states around the
You
country.
mean no Democrat joined them?
Oh, well, they're the ones on the other side bringing the people across.
I thought Kathy Hochul would be sending some people.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Actually,
But those 9 Republican governors got together and they said they would commit their National Guard troops to be sent down to support Texas defending the border. Now, which is also an interesting thing from that, and I'm going to read you something which
this ought to be good. You
that
can read?
Abbott. Yes, I did. I learned the other day. It's actually something that Abbott found, and he's using it to defend the reason he's doing this. Where everybody says it's unconstitutional for him to do that, to guard,
Which is disputable, but go ahead.
Well, it's no longer disputable if you read the Constitution, and you go to Article 1, Section 10.
Article 1, Section 10. Okay.
And I'm getting there now. We'll get to 9. Section 10, third paragraph.
Paragraph 3.
Okay. No state shall, without the consent of Congress, lay on any duty of tonnage, keep troops, or ships of war in time of peace, enter any agreement or compact with another state or with a foreign power, or engage in war unless it's actually invaded or in imminent danger as to not delay.
I would say
That gives a state the right.
I think the last number was 2 million crossing over so far this year.
But again, unless they're actually invaded, and I would say all those people coming are an invasion.
Yeah.
Or in such imminent danger as not to admit of delay.
So was it Eric Adams? Is that his name in New York City? The mayor who said it was
Mayor
the
Adams,
city
yeah.
is crumbling because it's under the weight of all the
People that he wanted to bring in for sanctuary purposes.
because they're sanctuary city and turn your phone off. We're recording, my friend.
Joe Agravino. Hi, Joe. I love you, but I'm busy.
If he's calling it a crisis, then why couldn't Texas call it a crisis? I think you're onto something there. That's a good winner. I like that one.
I think those are great winners. You got a winner?
My winner was, we kind of touched on it earlier, is Mr. Johnson, not Boris. our new
Speaker of the House?
Speaker of the House. I'm going to give him kudos for the first week. Again, baby steps, but I'm okay with that. It's baby steps. He's moving it forward. I'm excited to see what happens. As we talked about last week, he's got till the new year for me. I want to see what he does with the budget. And I'm not expecting him to roll the budget down, 40%. But I want to see some significant cuts. Some painful ones need to be made. Painful ones. I'm not saying he's not cutting Social Security, people. Stop. They ain't cutting the military either right now. In fact, they're going to spend as much as they can on the military right now.
Yeah, they're probably going to do real well, but they need to spend a lot of money to replace the bullets that they've given away.
Yeah. But I like what he's doing. I like, he's getting savagely attacked by the media.
Which means he's doing his job.
It's actually laughable watching them attack him. The first time, I knew nothing about him before roughly 2 weeks ago. I'd never even heard of the man. But I'm impressed. I like him. We talked about who we thought should be speaker. I thought it should have been Jordan.
I agree.
I'm now going. I'm going to revise that and say, you know what? I think we have a good choice.
I
think
so far he's done what he needs to do.
I do.
I think not only did he separate out the money from Ukraine from Israel and from Taiwan and all those places, but he also, following the conservative viewpoint, he found a way to pay for it.
And that's the important thing, right? Is if we're going to ship money to Israel or Ukraine or wherever, we have to shift money from other parts of the budget, not print more. And, geez, if the IRS has to make do with a little bit less, I think I'm okay with that.
Oh, I'm all for it.
We only gave them, $80 billion or whatever it was?
Right, to hire all these people to start looking into our own lives. And the fascinating part, these are people that were hired, quote, to audit us, but then they wanted to buy all these pistols to support them. So, we're not considered really terrorists.
Yeah.
Obviously, because they're going to come at us with everything they've got. But anyway, I agree with you, winners there.
All right, so we got two good winners there. How about what's your loser?
My loser, unfortunately, is the American public at the higher education level. Based on what's going on with Israel, the fact that these kids evidently have not been taught critical thinking, have not been taught how to see the difference between truth and falseness, and are actually out there attacking a country that's being attacked and defending a country that's murdering babies, and has said that they want to wipe off the face of the earth an entire country. So these people and their instructors, who are mostly leftists, because 100 of them signed a piece of paper already saying that we need to stop the war and punish Israel for defending themselves and for something they didn't start. The losers are the American public and the educational system at the higher level.
My losers are close to what you just said. Mine are the protesters themselves. Because I think, and we touched on this earlier, I think a large portion of them don't really understand it. Which touches on what you were just saying, the education system. I think that a lot of them have bought into that, the propaganda, because that's what it is, that Israel started this. No, they didn't. They gave the Palestinian people Gaza 20-odd years ago. It's yours. They built an infrastructure for them and literally handed it to them.
Yep.
And then they elected Hamas, and Hamas is digging those pipes up. I actually saw one protester sitting there. You'll love this one. There's no way they're digging up the water pipes because the water pipes are plastic. And you can't possibly make rockets from plastic. They would melt. And even the person doing the interviewing, who was a leftist, is looking at this kid going, are you really that stupid?
Yeah.
That you think they're using plastic pipes like in your house to ship water underground? Mind-boggling where we're at with that. It blows my mind. These protesters are sitting in roadways and thinking that they're doing a good thing. And I'll say this. In their mind, they are trying to help someone they think needs help. I'll give them that. But they have been deluded. I'm trying to be kind here.
Misguided?
Misguided.
Would you like that word?
you know, let me just say this.
If brains were dynamite, they couldn't blow
No.
their nose.
I think that whoever is running this behind the scenes, and whether some people will say it's Soros, some will say it's the Democratic Party, whomever, credit where credit's due. They've taken what Goebbels and Mao and a few others did and ratcheted it up, and they've convinced roughly a third of this country that Israel is the enemy.
Well, I'm not sure it's a third of the country. It's a third of the vocal people.
I think it's about a third of the country at this point, Bill, from what I'm seeing. I mean, because there's people that are sitting there, they're not the political ones, but they're still supporting, we got to make sure the Palestinians are okay.
Well, you have a certain percentage of people who have their nationality going there, so they're going to be leaning that way.
Some of them, wow.
I hear you. But speaking on that, remember we talked about all that aid that's being sent in to help the Gaza people? Those.
You mean to fund Hamas to fight back?
Same difference. Hamas admits that 16.4%, an interesting number, is a tax they put on everything coming into the country.
Funny how that is.
And they're taking that tax. If you grow something, 16.4% of it has to go to the government, to the Hamas. And they've also admitted that they've already taken a great amount of fuel that was shed in to move it over to support the Hamas activities. But yes, we should continue sending them those materials so they can build better bombs and get their people better trained to attack Israel. Yeah, makes all the sense in the world. We should have done that during World War II. How many aid ships did we send to Japan or Germany?
Yeah, Japan was starving.
Yeah.
At the end of the war, the last from 44 to 45, Japan was starving. I guess we should have sent some aid ships over, huh?
At least.
I mean, just because they were sending aircraft carriers against ours, no big deal.
Different. Use your head for more than a place to grow hair, people. And that's no sense of it.
Well, going back to the losers is really all was beautiful.
I just couldn't resist that.
Going back to the losers and the protesters is, do you think, honestly, those people can ever be turned around and woken up, pun intended?
No.
I agree with you. I think they're a lost cause.
But
which is scary, Bill.
You know what is all double scary? If they follow Stalin and Lenin's communist agendas,
which is what they're doing,
they admit that when they get power, the first people that they got to take out are their own people, ideologues, because they're not going to believe this is what you said you were going to do and you're not doing it. And these people are going to have to be taken out because they're not going to believe what the true reality is going to be.
There was a little government that might have done exactly that came around in 1932.
Yeah, it might happen then.
By 36, they had cleansed, their word, not mine.
And
the
I think there were
system.
reoccurring things in China, reoccurring things in Russia, and then you might say North Korea.
Vietnam, back in the day, Iran.
Even Venezuela has its issues.
Going back to that point I was just making, which is, I don't think these people are savable. I mean, really don't. What do we do with them? Because ultimately, they're college kids now, 20 years from now, and they still have those beliefs. You and I will be gone by then. Hopefully not, but probably.
There's a good chance.
They're going to be the ones in power.
No, they'll never be in power.
You don't think?
No, they're not. They're going to be the ones, because you saw how quickly they ran when all those big high-playing things from Harvard and the company started saying, well, just give us the names of those people and they're never going to get a job. Well, boy, did the backpedaling start then. They were heading back much faster than they were coming forward.
I think, that whatever number you want to throw out, 15, 20% of them, of the country, could be as much as a third, somewhere in there. Those people are lost causes at this point. And I don't blame them. This is what they've been taught literally since birth.
And they're going to be bitter for the rest of their lives.
And they're going to stir shit up. So let's throw out a hypothetical. Trump does become president. Those people are going to snap. Would you agree?
We'll probably have another insurrection, and we'll see if they try these groups.
That's my fear, is that insurrection, whatever you want to call it, civil war, all that. These people are going to snap.
But the only difference is they're not the side with the weapons.
They're a lot more armed than you think right now.
No, they're
you
not.
look at
armed.
Antifa. Antifa's pretty well
They're
armed.
armed with Molotov cocktails. They're armed with bats. They're armed with metal bars. They're not armed with weapons
not.
for the most part. You want to go mess. My best line was the southern city. I forget which one it was when Antifa was going to come down there and march through the city, and all the old they got out there and said, "Here we are, men, women, and children with their weapons. Come on down."
Yeah, but that was 2020. Things have changed, Bill. There
are probably more people armed down there than there were before.
There are a lot. Well, you look at Portland, Antifa literally walks the streets with ARs and all that other stuff. I mean, they have military-grade weapons. Where they're getting them from is a good question. We already know that is. I'm not saying that we don't outnumber them, but they're a lot more dangerous than you think. They're not throwing rocks.
The other reality is, you can arm a bunch of people with a bunch of things. If they have no idea of military tactics, they're going to be sitting ducks and be taken down very quickly.
But the point is, even if you're right, that's a civil war. Sure. It may be over quick.
It's coming. And we've talked about that, unfortunately. It's coming.
I just think we talked about, are we headed for a third world war? Yes, I think we are. Probably within the next 12 months.
Are we headed for a civil war?
Are we headed for a civil war also?
Probably we are.
I think
and it may happen the day after the election, or at least January 20th.
And then the other side of it is, and we were talking about this off air, what if Trump does get taken off the ballots? Then that side is going to go to war, so to speak. I mean, again, I said it before.
Yeah, but that side will be arrested.
Well, yeah. Although a lot of those cases are getting tossed now. I will say one thing. The judiciary, with the exception of certain things, is starting to hold up. Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court's doing their job.
Okay.
Certain levels of appeal courts are doing fine, but they still have places they know they can go to, like New York, like D.C.
Right. And that's not going to change because they're never going to get voted out. Letitia James in New York, she's literally posting by the hour on Twitter all this stuff about Trump, but she's got him gagged because the judge that gagged Trump donated to her campaign.
Heavily.
How is that judge sitting on there?
There's been some calls to have her recuse herself, or actually have her lose her license.
Where is the Bar Association? Now,
At the bar.
I get it, yeah. Exactly. It's, again, what can be done to stop that?
You know what? And that's a great topic for another time.
Well, we still got a couple minutes, so.
Where is the Bar Association? It's like the ACLU. But I will tell you, there is hope, because the ACLU actually came out and defended Trump the other day.
Oh, I missed that one.
Yeah, they actually came out for his freedom of speeches, and they had to come out and defend him in one of the lawsuits someplace.
They did not.
It broke their hearts.
I was going to say.
And they had to go to confession, and they probably had to.
I could see them doing the paperwork like this.
And they probably lost a lot of donors.
Who cares?
I don't either. But they actually had to come out and defend his right for certain freedom of speech. So there are still a few of them left that have certain liberal, and I mean a true liberal, not a leftist.
There are the Maher liberals, whatever his name, Bill Maher.
Oh yeah, he's an excellent example.
RFK, I think, would fall into that. There are some somewhat sane liberals, but you look at that Trump case in New York, and if you don't think we're living in a banana republic, just go watch that. That's all I'm going to say. I think I'll close down with that.
Okay, I think we need to tell people where to find us.
You tell them.
Everywhere.
Name
Spotify.
One. There you go. There's one. Give me another one.
TikTok. 2.
Keep going. You're doing good.
Rumble.
3. Go.
Instagram?
No.
Okay, that's 3.
That's Meta. We don't deal with Meta.
YouTube.
There you go.
Okay,
you got
all those places.
I was on just a little test for you. 3 under the bus.
I actually passed it. So I only got.
Yes. So, and you forgot X, Twitter.
X.
Where some of us have a lot of fun replying to people.
I actually replied to a couple of them.
Did you?
You look for the word marauder. That's me
reporting. You took the account off?
No, I just saw some comment and I said, when you see marauder answering, that's me.
Okay. If you want to see the good stuff, you got to go to Twitter X. If you want to see the show, go to Rumble, because I don't think we're going to be on YouTube much longer. I tried. We had a
Their
strike.
loss.
We had a strike put on us back in July, which was supposed to come off in October. So I went to reapply after that,
And they
and they struck us until January. So they extended the strike for another 3 months. How nice of them!
What did you do?
Nothing. That was the funny part. There's no other violation. They just chose to extend it 3 more months. So we get one more strike, we're done on YouTube. So follow us on Rumble.
Yes, and get us on TikTok. And if
For
you like
now.
my cowboy hat, let us know.
Yeah. So he does some good videos. That's your bailiwick. I leave that one to you.
Okay. So anyway, we'll see you in a week, and we got a real surprise for you next week.
You want to tease it?
Yeah, we have a representative coming from the state North Carolina General Assembly is going to talk about the things they've accomplished and what they're looking to do in the future. So we're looking forward to that interview. His name shall be secret till you turn
We
in.
can't tell him that. Donald Trump. No. It's not Donald. No, sorry.
And it's not Ray Cooper.
Who? Ray Cooper?
Yeah, I didn't want to go with the other one.
All right, wrap it
we're
up.
done.
See you next time.